and that might put Nusham kind of on the sidelines as far as the farming. Witch Doctor can still do pretty good without any items, and we already see him picking up wards alongside the Venom. So it'll be interesting to see who actually focuses on their item progression, but an itemless Venomancer is pretty much just dropping those Plague Wards for vision.
Yeah, which is not necessarily the greatest usage of the hero, but he is pretty good at defending against those tower dives. Just dropping the wards for vision will allow you to spot out those Night Stalker rotations, and Gale can disengage pretty cleanly. So I still think it has its place, but I am a little bit sad to see this Venomancer not get priority. That said, if he does get enough space, and if they can free up some lane farm for Flying Zebra, you could still see that Venomancer transition pretty darn hard and get a stupid amount of damage on the table.
Yeah, now looking at a recent tweet from Nahaz, he has brought us the nice little stat here that Leviathan's win versus Boreal is actually the largest comeback ever in Pro Dota. So that's a hell of a stat,
cool.
Especially considering we just went through several months back, of course, but 6.83, which had all these kind of gimmicky, forced comebacks through the inflated comeback goal. In this case, we see that the metrics outpaced by our most recent game, and all of it heavily deserved through amazing team play from Leviathan. Speaking of stats, transition to the fact that we do actually have a stats lady with us this game here, so Lurker will be providing us a little bit more insight into the numbers of this game. To start things off, though, we're going to be seeing Francis on the Queen of Pain picking up the bounty rune here in the mid lane and has the magic wand already to deal with the arc lightning spam.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that coin, XctN going to get the bounty rune bottom, as the Zeus has clarities to spam out that arc lightning to the best of his ability until he gets his bottle, which will be pretty darn fast. Just secure 1 or 2 CS with that arc lightning, and you already have it flying out to yourself. In this lane, although I don't think either of these heroes are going to be killing each other, is probably going to be slightly favored towards the Queen of Pain, but that's only if Pizza Dad doesn't stick around. This Arctic Burn's really annoying. Fighting Zebra comes in with the Gale on a Pizza Dad, and right now it's just traded blows. We see this quite often with the pseudo dual lane versus dual lane mid for the first couple minutes of the game.
Yeah, but I feel like Veno heavily loses out on that trade. Loses his majority of his mana pool, loses majority of his health pool, doesn't get much accomplished other than scaring off the Wyvern to a small extent. But at least the Wyvern is kind of forced there, and that gives a little bit more space to Jenkins here, going for a triple Iron Shell at the moment, and that just really puts pressure on Bakemono before he gets the Spell Shield up. In fact, I'm not exactly sure why you would prioritize Blink level 1 over Spell Shield against a Darkseer.
I'm not sure what he felt like was happening. If he knew it was just going to be a Darkseer 1v1, or 2v1 in this situation, maybe he would have skilled differently, but that'll be fixed in just a little while. This early part is a little bit rocky for the anti-mage, but as a whole, he does very well against the Darkseer in the lane. I think the more surprising thing to me is the fact that they're putting Undying solo up towards top lane. They're giving Jeppins a lot of priority.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to be that dual lane with the Night Stalker trying to kind of force the issue against the Gyrocopter. They feel like they need a support to help out this anti-mage, and obviously the Wyvern wanted to help out the mid. So focusing on getting their cores up, it's just going to leave the Undying by himself. But Jeppins does have 4 tangos, a healing salve, as well as the mango. So he's going to be able to sustain. The problem is staying in experience range when this pull is unlocked for Nusham.
And right now he's putting himself at a good amount of peril here. The Venomancer, if he gets a wraparound and connects with a Gale, that could very well be a dead Undying. He is only level 2 with the Decay and a potential Soul Rip skill. Maybe he'd be able to survive, and right now that's not going to be the case, but a hasted Veno going mid. Zeus is already very immobile. Maybe they can kill off XctN, or maybe he gets the Courier Snipe, which would be even better, but for the Venomancer, unfortunately, the Courier is already back to base.
Yeah, so that's unfortunately not going to happen. They know that he will be auto crowing, so maybe expect it soon, but mostly just wants to go for the kill here as the Shadow Strike and Venomous Scale both connect, and Zeus, already a very slow hero, is only at like 120 movement speed. The first blood will be spilled by Flying Zebra. That's really enabling that kill, and from there, just able to kind of move away with level 2 and see what he can do, maybe stacking for the Queen of Pain.
A lot of that comes down to Leviathan's ward vision at this point. They only have 1 ward on the map, and it's down towards the south. They had no idea there was a hasted Venomancer around the corner, and sometimes when you do have that lapse in vision, haste runes happen, and we already touched on it. Zeus is way too immobile to get out once that Gale connects. Even though Queen of Pain was a little bit shy of the mana until she used her wand, they'll be able to get that kill up towards top. Jeff is going to take a lot of rocket barrage, and the right-click damage is probably going to be lethal, and will before he's able to get that decay off. Gyrocopter gets a kill, and just like that, Leviathan are up to a pretty quick 2-0 start.
So Nusham pretty happy to go for the healing build. Occasionally we see actually Flying Zebra going on the Witch Doctor, and he actually prefers early points in Maledict, but in this case they do not need that to find a kill, and it shows that he's going to be able to sustain himself even more. I actually think Voodoo Restoration is a really good skill to have against Day. While your HP pool is softened up, that heal is still going to be as strong. Yup, so it's actually really important if the Night Stalker starts getting aggressive here at the 4-minute mark. As we see him, Q going down bottom, trying to put some damage into Jenkins, but he actually avoids the siege creep. And that's one thing that you wouldn't have seen in the previous match.
Yeah, even if he avoids the Dark Seer there, the Surge would have kept him pretty safe. No points in Crippling Fear as of yet. And the lockdown from Winter Wyvern and Night Stalker usually doesn't come out till a little bit later on once they get their experience up and running. Still, they force out the Surge, and Dark Seer is low on mana, but with that Soul Ring, we'll be able to patch up that weakness nicely. Runes, either way, Bounty Rune for the Queen of Pain, double damage rune for the Zeus. Queen of Pain would probably be pretty happy with that exchange, although she wouldn't be mad if she got the double damage either. And now Venomancer again going to make his rotation mid, although the Zeus is going to be coming with a little bit of backup maybe. The Winter Wyvern looks like she wants to go get some experience in lane.
So at least getting a little bit of an approach towards level 6 is obviously the fact that Pizza Dad went for the Arctic Burn early on and hasn't been going for the stacks and pulls means that your Wyvern is generally going to be underleveled and not getting as much damage out of the Center Blast or that early level 6. So getting some solo experience while the Zeus jungles is actually the best way to make both worlds. We're going to see the Tombstone come out. They're just going to kill it off immediately. You see how weak that Tombstone is. Jeff is trying to decay everyone. He gets a 3-man decay and it doesn't make a bit of difference. He still goes down. Does save the Night Stalker, but the extra 100 gold bounty makes that probably a worse trade than what would have otherwise naturally happened.
Oh, absolutely. So, that was the Night Stalker trying to get aggressive up in the top lane, but Leviathan had the ward down on the ground and spotted out all of that rotation, and it was a very, very easy setup. When you have 3 heroes, as you said, killing off that Tombstone is just way too easy to stop the dive. Boreal probably needed a little bit more help. Winter Wyvern TP could have saved his life, but even then, maybe it's not worth it. They really do need to get some experience up on Pizza Dad, which they are doing quite nicely. XctN is jungling the Zeus and has been for about the last minute.
Yep, focusing on those stacks, gets 2 points in Arc Lightning for this purpose, and he's able to clear them out pretty cost-effectively as he continues to bottle Crow. But, yeah, one thing, of course, to note is this is still the Venomancer that's actually getting some good traction. Like, while I, generally speaking, don't see the value towards the mid to late game, laning phase Venomancer gets a lot with that scale, especially as we've seen catching out the multiple heroes with the potential to add in extra Rocket Barrage. Venomous scale is really setting the tone for these first 2 or 3 kills, and that's going to be something that Boreal are reeling from for probably the next 8 minutes.
Regeneration Rune picked up by the Queen of Pain, and it looks like Francis wants to go down towards bottom. This is a pretty hard kill unless they could catch Night Stalker out with any sort of disable. There's none to be had, and Queen of Pain was spotted out entirely with the remainder of that Observer Ward in the high ground. So Francis will go back mid, but not losing any space. Leviathan are being very efficient, and so is Boreal, to be fair, about giving their supports a little bit of extra room in the mid lane. That does help so much when you have these experience-dependent supports that we talked about during the draft.
Zeus is going to have the Arcane Boots out pretty early on, so he will continue to jungle, and he will be able to continuously spam out his spells. Doesn't go for a Soul Ring, and this means to me that he might actually not go for a Bloodstone at all. The item was nerfed considerably in the patch, and while it used to be a pretty common pickup for the hero, maybe he'll find an alternative build. I could see a lot of value in a Blink Dagger this game in particular, but no matter what he goes for, it's going to be unique from in the past. Darkseer down bottom has Gyrocopter accompanying him. That's double Ion Shell and a rotation from your carry, which is generally something that you wouldn't expect, but the weakness of Anti-Mage's fighting potential at this particular point in the game, coupled with the necessity of Witch Doctor getting level 6, it's actually a nice rotation as you put pressure out while still getting what you want from the map.
Yeah, it's not going to completely stop Anti-Mage's farm, but it's significantly going to slow it down. If they could get kills here, maybe on Night Stalker, the Rocket Barrage is there, they have vision. He hasn't made his move yet. We'll just run away, has that Hunter in the night, but now Jenkins coming in with his Surge. This could be a really big engagement if anybody finds some sort of disable on the other.
Very interesting vision. I actually thought there was a ward there, but it is just going to be him casually walking by a very small gap in the trees and seeing through that. So very interesting, but the Rocket Barrage does a little bit of poke damage. More importantly, they're going to go for this dive. Going in, going to force the blink back on the Anti-Mage. He's inside the trees here. I believe that might have been intentional, but the cooldown's still going to hurt. We're going to get the Gale missing, unfortunately. Zebra's contribution has ended. And he's actually going to get creep blocked here and try to tango through, eating a lot of Arctic burn damage and zombies in the process. Nusham here on the run with the Voodoo Restoration does get one more stun out, bouncing to Q, and the rocket barrage might make him the first casualty here. That last hit through the wall. And yeah, Anti-Mage also did die. He was on the run, but Francis headed him off at the pass, and he was able to clean him up. Now Jeffins in an awkward position, but Francis seems to have lost sight of him. Zebra might that, or they'll have other ideas in mind. Either way, Tier 1 tower is under heavy pressure. Now Jeffins popped by the double slow.
He does get a decay off, a pretty good one, but he's isolated away from the rest of his team. How low were all of those Leviathan heroes before that ends up going down? They were able to out-sustain that with just like the Buga Restoration, and there just wasn't enough damage there from Boreal. It got close to Zeus Ultimate contributing a lot. They just couldn't find good angles, and unfortunately this Anti-Mage can't contribute nearly as much as the Gyrocopter. Leviathan go away unscathed, even though at a certain point a lot of our heroes were on like double-digit HP, especially after that Thunder God's Wrath.
Exactly, but it really isn't the strong point of Boreal's draft right now to deal a lot of damage. Maybe
no,
Flesh Golem will help, but I mean overall the heroes are just naturally more about control than anything else. We are going to see two supports meet each other on the side, and with the Arctic Burn kind of pulling the Wyvern in a three-dimensional space off the ground, the Gale is completely off the mark, and they'd go their separate ways. Still forging into the though. It's like the Witch Doctor are pretty confident with this Death Ward.
Across the board, Leviathan are getting a nice advantage, especially for the supports. If you take a look, the Venomancer, Witch Doctor, and Darkseer all are getting a good amount of farm, and the same can't be said for Boreal. With so many aggressive movements, although they may or may not have resulted in kills for Leviathan, they're constricting their map space and just not getting that much value. The first Nighttime from the Night Stalker did nothing, and now PQ is significantly decreased in his impact this game as Leviathan are going to start grouping up, and during daytime, this is not a time where they can take this engagement cleanly. Jeffins, also on the end dying, still just doesn't have enough experience.
Yeah, he'll get there eventually, but he had some difficulty in that offlane, as one would expect. Now we're going to see the death of the Daywalker, just going to be slowed down, and Quinipin will be claiming the last hit. So Tier 1 bottom is gone, but the Tier 2 top is going to follow suit very quickly. So an early 2-tower advantage coming out for Leviathan, and this is really making their laning phase look strong. I mean, it's obviously come down to the early skirmishes, leading to a 7-kill score, but they still have ultimates always at the ready. Sonic Wave, the Death Ward, the Wall, all of them can come into play at a moment's notice. So the Tier 1 tower falls, and it seems like they want more.
Yeah, the one ultimate that they don't have access to is Venomancer's. Flying Zebra's been grouped up a lot with the team, and he's been involved in a lot of these kills, but at the cost of his own XP. And take a look at how much that Thunderbolt does to Flying Zebra's HP. It's so low.
Nice cleanup though on the Winter Wyvern, jumping onto him. Jeff healed himself up and survived for a little while longer. PQ dropping down to 15 HP and cleaned up by Francis at long range. So close call there, but the Wyvern in particular just killed off so very quickly, and not able to, of course, apply Winter's Curse for a low level. And with Zeus will put a lot of damage on Quinipin, but it doesn't stall Francis one little bit. He'll still go right on top of him with the Lightning Bolt on cooldown and clean up another kill. Bakemono wants some of the action. He can't find his target, and they'll TP away. Oh my, a rotation that needed to succeed in order to start bringing this game back. Right now it's 11-0. Leviathan really just running circles around Boreal.
Boreal are falling apart. That rotation up towards top, I was really surprised that they even try to make a defense in front of their tower. They end up trickling in a handful at a time, and the damage coming out from Leviathan's heroes, since they've had this early game advantage, especially the experience lead for Leviathan, is making it so very difficult for Boreal to come back into it. And this looks like Boreal, if they don't do something and do something quick, everything could completely fall apart. Anti-Mage is getting a reasonable amount of farm, but he's died once, and that Battle Fury is so long in the works. Bakemono needs that item before you can even consider pushing out these lanes, let alone joining fights. It seems that Boreal are just missing their timing window, and this nighttime is make or break for them.
Absolutely, and I mean, I expected that it wouldn't be until the 12-minute night that the Night Stalker really got traction because of the feed that happened up top where he got caught out, and that's remained to be the case. 0-3, he's just not been able to do too much. Now finally walking in the night once more, and probably going to be popping darkness shortly. It's definitely worth it to suppress the vision of the opposition, and it's not going to be, it's going to come off cooldown before the night expires, so you see that pretty soon, and that might be timed with maybe an opportune smoke play as we see the courier flying out.
And it is going to deliver that smoke, but there is no clear opportunity for them to go for this gank since Leviathan are 4-manning mid. The only one that they could rotate onto is Flying Zebra, but they need to make sure that they don't lose any more than just this tier 1 tower in the middle lane, and really they need something in response for it. These towers are falling where Leviathan trade nothing for it, and although a sentry ward is going to spot out this obs that was placed in the mid lane, Leviathan are still postured in such a way that the only space that Boreal have on this map is in their own small camp and in their own side of the jungle where Anti-Mage is trying his best to cut the creep wave. He's doing a good job at keeping as efficient as possible when it comes to getting this farm up, but it's not going to stop the push, and we have a Midas on this Venomancer, so we might still yet get to see those big carry items.
Yeah, I was just noting that, and I actually love that decision. Like, oh, Courier almost like, wow, that was close with 17 HP remaining. But yeah, I actually think that is how you can really make a support Venomancer work. When you have 11 kills in your favor and you have this much momentum, picking up a sub 14-minute Midas is an amazing way to enable this hero to thrive despite being a support. He's going to get levels, he's going to approach higher levels of Venomous Gale, or sorry, Poison Nova more importantly, and yeah, he's going to be able to actually build up some major items. Could go for utility items, can go for the Veil or the Ags. There's a lot that you can really do with this hero now that we actually see he's going to get farmed. So really like this on any style of Venomancer, and at this timing it just can't be beat.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really like the Veil this game, or the Aghanim Scepter. The amount of magic damage that Leviathan have is ridiculous. The Queen of Pain's in this room is going to be spotted out. Maybe they can catch her out as she goes behind the tower. They have Sentry Vision on Francis. They've yet to make their move, though. If they can get themselves on the board, not only is this a very important kill on the Quap, but it's also going to help their morale a lot. But with that E.Wolves Scepter, their lockdown just isn't appropriate enough to get this kill, and they know that she's there, or she knows that they know that they have vision there. They need this Winter Wyvern's ultimate at the ready, and although she's only about 100 or so experience till she has it, Pizza Dad, it really has had a very limited impact this game.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, obviously the Wyvern, one of his big aspects is going to be that Winter's Curse, and that he's yet to come into play, but so overall it's been difficult for him to actually find places to rotate and be involved when there's just so much death. There's just so many great offensive approaches coming in from Leviathan. It's really difficult to prevent that, but we will see them attempt to pull back the creep wave. Not going to be that slow. The creep's glued to that tower, and they're not able to break down this push reason, so that is actually going to make it so they can take this tower down 500 HP. And they'll rotate right back up top, where a TP is just narrowly going to get Kikoni out.
Yeah, they don't have the greatest catch at the moment. A Blink E.Wolves Scepter from the Queen of Pain could have canceled that TP, but he was safe behind Fog, even though I believe they knew he was there. They do have a ward on that temple cliff. So Leviathan still controlling the map, controlling the space, but all while that's happening, the Anti-Mage is still keeping relatively close to the highest farmers on the side of Leviathan. Considering the fact that they have 4 towers to their name and Boreal have none, I'd be really happy with where I am as the Anti-Mage. He's going to TP out, they don't catch vision on him, that's so close. But he has to keep on making the type of risky push play and creep cutting in order to keep himself in this game. I think Bakemono is playing it about as well as you can ask.
Now we're going to get a little bit of space and breathing room for Boreal to try to bring this back, get an item or two online. Maybe we'll get a D ward out on that cliff, but obviously that's going to be expiring in just a minute anyways. So trying to take the map back and doing it actually very deliberately. They go into the darkness smoke and they will go right onto Jenkins with the Winter's Curse. Nusham probably going to fall with them, just not able to get away. So good 2 kills. Very first 2 kills game coming out as late as 16.5 minutes.
And now it's 16.5 minutes. They also have the Battlefield for the Anti-Mage. So this is the start of Boreal being able to start getting map control back in their favor. It's not going to be easy by any means, but if they can keep that up and avoid dying, first and foremost, if they can stop getting picked off around the map, that's going to be priority number 1. And then you can start looking to take out these outer tier towers that they desperately need for that extra bit of gold income to bring them back to close to even. The Venomancer, however, that Midas is running overtime. Compare his farm to that of the supports in the enemy team. He almost has the net worth like the Undying Nightstalker and Winter Wyvern combined, and it feels like his impact is already greater.
Yeah, I think that he did get a last hit or 2 on the towers, and that obviously is what got him to the Midas in the first place. But now it essentially allows the 2 supports to both play 4 position. Like, I think Nusham was okay with just having a Glimmer Cape this game, but he's going to be able to look towards Glimmer Cape and Aghanims while the Venomancer gets to pursue the Ags of his own. And that starts making up for one thing that you're talking about in the draft, which is the raw HP pool that we have on these heroes. They're going to be significantly more durable against the Zeus combo, even when Zeus approaches 11, which is usually that kill zone.
Yeah, I guess good news for them is that Winter Wyvern does have some gold in the bank that she can invest. The Pizza Dad Winter Wyvern has 1100. What do you think is going to be the play here? When you're this behind on a support, every bit of gold counts.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to find the right item, and the most important item a Wyvern can have when you need to make the fights work is a Blink Dagger, but I'm not sure if that's the item that you save another 1,000 gold for while your base is about to be pressured. I mean, the basic items like Earn of Shadows and Magic One are still pretty important in this context. It just comes down to a little bit of playstyle and how much he really can wait on the next item.
Dyer's Courier going to have a very close call with Bakemono. The Anti-Mage won't be able to snipe the Huntling, but it's inside the trees. If it bumps into him, that could be a blink snipe on it. Both of the Couriers, Radiant and Dyer, have dropped very low. And this Anti-Mage is still being an absolute pest. He's pushing out the lanes, cutting the creep waves. He's playing a very dangerous game, but right now will DP back to safety. And what he's doing right now, although it looks like it could very easily be punished, is keeping Boreal inside this game. The advantage that was once about 10,000 for Leviathan 10 minutes ago or so, a little bit less than that, hasn't been increased at all because of all of these split push plays and that one fight in mid. And experience is a lot closer to even than one might expect. 2,500 is the advantage for Leviathan.
Yeah, not too significant. The one aspect of that is Leviathan have been grouping up a ton, so they really haven't spread the map the same way this Anti-Mage has, and he's obviously, by and large, at the top of the level chart at 13. Beyond that, yeah, we're going to be seeing the Wyvern go for the Magic Wand and the Cloak. He wants a Glimmer Cape of his own, and I can't really say that I blame him. In this context, getting Cold Embrace Glimmer on somebody that's affected by all of these magical nukes and potentially disables, it's a really big deal. They're actually starting to invade into the Dire jungle, putting out some wards and setting up camp. They will scout out with the Thunder God's Wrath, but I'm not sure if they actually have any means of getting into the Roche pit itself.
They do scout it out, so they know what's happening. This is a conscious decision of Boreal not to go for this contest, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that it's not a fast Roshan, even though it is a pretty safe Rosh. You do have a lot of sustained mechanism on the Darkseer, the constant Plague Word spam, the Voodoo Restoration. It's another lineup, as we saw in the first game, where Roshan isn't very swift. This is going to buy Anti-Mage a little bit of time to farm, although they do know that they are giving up a very key objective that might be able to be a segue for Leviathan into these high ground pushes, which is really the big question right now. Taken all the outer tier 2 towers with the exception being the one in bottom.
Yeah, but honestly, they didn't. I mean, how do you approach that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Walking into Venomous Gale, Plague Wards, Wall Vac, and of course the damage components. So they're just the controlling aspects. But we've got a lot of damage on the side of Leviathan, and they're ready for a fight, especially with that mechanism complete for Jenkins and has been for some time. So now we're looking at Boreal. They're trying to hold. They got a Yasha, maybe like a Bassi on Anti-Mage, and that's about it. They do, however, get this mechanism on Jepit, and that could be the difference between death for a few years here.
Yeah, absolutely. 250 gold or HP swing at this point is definitely worth the gold inputted into the item. Leviathan now are going to start pressuring high ground, and this could very easily be a huge fight. The Anti-Mage isn't very healthy right now. He's keeping back. And the tier 3s sustain a little bit of damage. Will open up with the coconut over onto me, and Don bounces back and forth with Tony once. But they'll keep on this slow siege. And Leviathan do have the Venomous Words, which are going to help a lot in keeping up this constant chip.
And tier 3 going to be dropping down to below half HP, and it seems like it's slated to fall. I'm curious when Boreal actually draw the line. Are they going to try to Arc to Burn over the high ground and try to get a Winter's Curse onto multi heroes here? For now, the Splinter Blast will come through. Nusham, probably one of the easier targets to start on, is here on the front line, but they are just absolutely spooked right now. They don't know the best way to do this other than just clear creep waves. They cleared all the creep waves to this point, and Anti-Mage Bakemono clearing out all the ones on the back line, just cutting his way through. But this means the backdoor protection has now kicked back in, and that's the best way to delay this difficult situation.
They will hold, but it costs them almost 1,200 damage on that tier 3 tower, which is something that Leviathan didn't have to commit that hard for, even though it does cost them a lot of time. Ooh, Bakemono going to bump into Queen of Pain, but Queen of Pain can't kill off the Anti-Mage or even get close, and the Anti-Mage will continue cutting creep waves. He's going to try to aggro all of this wave, will miss one of the creeps, but that's probably
Jenkins down heavily and will not be able to get the mechanism out. Oh, just barely got it, but doesn't make a difference. There's going to be a huge ultimate coming up from the Anti-Mage, kills off the Witch Doctor near the Venomancer as well. Be able to escape back into the base, the Poison Nova only on him. Obviously not the hero that you're worried about getting poisoned at this stage. So they actually are able to just use those ultis quickly, and in much the way that we were looking for them to engage fights in the last game, they're able to take those quick picks, those unexpected initiations, and they're able to find the kills they need to kind of stall the game out.
That mana void over on the Witch Doctor, was it on the Darkseer? I can't remember. Both of them have pretty deep mana pools. It did so much damage. It was really crucial in Boreal being able to hold there. Between cutting the creep wave, between, I don't know, just very good management of spells, Boreal are staying in this game. By no means are they in an advantageous position, but this anti-mage is already at the top of the net worth chart. If at a certain point Boreal can transition a kill or two into a tower push, they could very easily be back in this game. The anti-mage over the top of the Darkseer, right to the Witch Doctor. Oh, eventually this is probably going to happen, but another blink out. Can they catch up back a moment? They bring in the Gyrocopter. Everybody's here. He has another blink, but there's a Queen of Pain right in the Sonic Wave. Gonna
right
jam that one home. Nicely done, Francis.
Yep, just sets it up, and that's only a 40-second cooldown with the new Aghanim Scepter. Speaking of, Venomancer finds one of his own. So they bring down the Anti-Mage for the full minute. No more creep cut shenanigans. They will go in for the kill. They knew that the only limitation they had on actually pushing high ground was the rat play. They've done this too many times not to know that that's the weakness, and so they go ahead and just squash the rat. Now they're going to go in with their Sonic Wave off cooldown. The Rax pretty much exposed down bottom, very shortly lived tier 3 tower here, and yeah, they can absolutely force the full in around.
Yeah, Anti-Mage is one of the few things that's keeping him alive. Winter's Curse onto Nushin, but the Witch Doctor won't even die from that. Winter's Curse on cooldown makes Leviathan feel a lot more comfortable committing to bring down the Tombstone. Sonic Wave, back! Leviathan are going to be whacking the floor with Boreal. The Thunder God's Wrath is there. They might be able to get Francis. Blink away by the Queen of Pain will be fine if they commit further to the melee barracks. The balance of the cast, they'll get Jeffins, and now inside the base, Kikoni turns around for the bolt onto the Darkseer as they retreat. Buyback from the Night Stalker will repel them, if only for a second.
They're not leaving though. They have the Poison Nova still. All they have to do is just heal back up, and they can absolutely go in for another volley with the next creep wave.
This is a very dangerous situation for Boreal, most importantly, if they get caught out here. The Queen of Pain's gonna back all the way to the rune, picks up a double damage. If they take the fight now, Queen of Pain won't be there, but even if she was, she didn't have Sonic Wave until just now. So now Leviathan are ready to rinse and repeat, go for that again. Lucky enough for Boreal, they're gonna have everybody in 10 seconds, however, since their heroes were slightly under-leveled and now smoking up, maybe they can find this opportunity, but it is without Winter's Curse and Thunder God's Wrath.
Yeah, so they really need the mana void to do just as much work this time as it did the previous attempt at zoning the base. Going ahead and Pop the Darkness coming in from the flank here. They'll get the sounds of Venomancer trying to avoid that amazing Poison Nova damage, but the mana void is insufficient to kill anybody off. And Sonic Wave will bring that Wyvern down. Nice backing back, jumping in. The Queen of Pain doing some major damage, and actually defensively using there just to kind of shift their target focus. Now we're going to see them walk back and heal up from the poison, but in the meantime the racks are being broken down. Slowly but surely they take bottom lane, and that should be enough for them. They could get a little greedy here, and they could look for the mid, but we'll have to see how they're feeling mana and HP.
Really, that just was an insufficient fight coming up from Boreal, since they didn't have that very crucial Thunder God's Wrath and the Winter's Curse. If they had those two ultimate spells available for that high ground defense, I'm tempted to say that even a mediocre Mana Void would have been enough. Ideally, you get the Mana Void on Witch Doctor like right about now, where he's down 700 mana, could be really huge. But right now, Anti-Mage has to resume going for these creep cutting plays. He's going to try to backdoor tier 1 tower, and it looks like he's going to succeed and cut the creep wave at the same time. But is this enough to hold the high ground? I have my doubts, but maybe, just maybe, Boreal can hold Winter's Curse onto Shibby. Thunder God's Wrath, the Gyrocopter dropping low. Will he go down? Glimmer Cave and the Surge away. He'll survive.
Oh, but we're gonna see Francis go right back in here, has the Sonic Wave back up on Pizza Dab, and there's the vacuum, the wall, and the Sonic Wave all on 3, and they're all dead. We're seeing backline Bakemono cleaning up on multiple heroes though, and he's gonna be looking for Jinkets as well. It's a triple for the Anti-Mage, cleaning them up outside the base. Oh my, they did so much work, but in the end the Darkseer's spells cost so much mana. He didn't Guardian Greaves to get that mana and HP back up, and then kaboom goes the Dynamite. Anti-Mage cleans it up, and despite the lack of racks down bottom, he is all the way next to base.
That's ridiculous. Really nice hold coming up from Boreal, and a lot of that comes down to Zeus's mass amount of damage. Now with the 12 Bloodstone charge item up for XctN, they're feeling a lot more comfortable, and a lot of this comes down to Gyrocopter's item build. He's gone for the Sanjiasha MKB, a very greedy item selection coming out from him that doesn't protect him at all against this burst coming out from XctN, which after the first barrage drops it down to half, they get the paralyzing cast.
That was a very awkward blink. I mean, he has the next one available. Gonna get caught by a little bit of poison on the tail end of it. I guess they can't pursue, and that effectively wastes poison. No, but look, damage he's still taking. This guy has 44% magical damage resistance, and just the Axe Poison Nova alone is still dropping him down to 300 HP. But fearless as always, he's just going to stick to the creep, stick to the tower, and take something in the meantime, despite how low he may be.
Yeah, I think Anti-Mage this game more than most probably should have committed for the second point in Spell Shield, but we'll just hold that thought. It's probably not relevant, as Leviathan are going to again start controlling this map and start looking for another opportunity to go high ground, although this one will probably have to wait until Roshan. About a minute 50 till we see the next Roche back in his pit, and right now Leviathan have good ways at scouting out, especially the Plague Ward. We'll let them know exactly when that's up so they can stop farming the enemy woods and instead take that major objective. But now Boreal smoked up. They have Winter's Curse, they have all of their cooldowns available. Can they make this fight happen?
Well, they're going to look for it, and they have a really good flank, a very great surprise factor. They're going to go Gyrocopter first. He has no BKB, but he does have the MKB, only to be attacked by his own ally. Nusham gets caught inside the Winter's Curse along with the Gyrocopter, and they both fall. The Sonic Wave, the Poison Gale is going to be delivered, but it is going to be still a very clear fight for Boreal. Great jump, a great surprise attack, and once again, Leviathan are brought low.
Are we in for another big comeback? This was once a 20,000 net worth lead for Leviathan, and now we've pared that down to almost half of what it once was, back in Boreal's favor. And a big difference in this is the fact that the Anti-Mage is still super hard to deal with, and the Gyrocopter is still manageable. Even though he's bought a lot of these big tier items, they're not keeping him alive, and when you're not alive to get those flat cannon shots off, Monkey King Bar, and to a lesser extent the Sanjin Yasha, mean a lot less than something like a BKB would have, and this game is getting a lot closer to even and a lot closer to being a comeback than Leviathan will feel comfortable with. They need to secure this next Roshan.
Yeah, great movement from Bakumono across the map. He's been able to do so much work, but we will see Francis going for the Night Stalker, and he will actually be finished off, but I think Francis might fall. No, just barely gets to jump out there, and they cannot follow it up with, like, say, Thunder God's Wrath and Mana Void. Both ultis unavailable at that particular moment. But still, Bakemono's movement on this map has been really, really good. Just been able to find opportunities to farm while essentially creating space. Usually the carry gets space created for him. This time it's the other way around. The Anti-Mage has really been able to move them around the map effectively, and he's doing so with a pretty interesting skill build. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but he actually went nearly full stats. He had 2 points in Mana Break, 1 point in Spell Shield, but otherwise has been hammering stats until here level 19, where he's starting to skill back up that Mana Break and perhaps next the Spell Shield. In either case, Roshan back up, Aegis potentially in the hands of Gyrocopter, and that would enable them to really put some massive damage into the tier 3 mid.
Yeah, even though the Gyrocopter's been manageable in these last couple of fights, the Queen of Pain not so much. And those last 2 deaths are Shibi's only deaths this game. Leviathan still have a lead and still are in an advantageous position, especially now with the blink on the Venomancer. In the previous fights, they relied on the Vacuum to get a good Poison Nova off, but now Flying Zebra can do it himself. They find Anti-Mage, Vacuum back, he'll blink out. They don't have the follow-up disable, and he'll be fine. Don't do that, Bakumono. You're gonna give me a heart attack.
Absolutely. Now, I'm actually kind of surprised that we're not seeing a Hex come out from Francis, despite the frustration they've received from this Anti-Mage and how maneuverable he's been. They are not looking for that Hex. Maybe in the Darkseer, who has a Blink Dagger as well, they can look at that as a next item, but for now, they got the Assault Corral. They're really looking to just take these structures down as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show Leviathan's game plan. They're not itemizing to deal with this Anti-Mage. They want to bring down his high ground before this Anti-Mage comes completely to fruition, once he has all of his item slots filled. This AM is very stacked, but killing off is difficult, and it looks like Leviathan are going to try to make this rotation, as AM expects everybody else to be inside the mid lane, but lucky enough for him, they had Observer Ward's vision deep inside that mid lane for the Radiant team to spot out that there were heroes coming his direction.
Wow, and down goes Jenkins' mana pool. The illusions alone fighting it out, and yeah, that just shows what is possibly to come if he can just get a few seconds of direct attack time against the Darkseer or the Queen of Pain. BKB and GhostScepter, the two real ways to deal with this mana break from the illusions, etc. And we've seen a little bit of invis play from the Glimmer Cape, but you generally want something more reliable than that, since that can be countered by invis. We'll look for Bakemono maybe finding another big void, but for now, he's just cruising around, hasted up, and pretty much considering all possible sources of income his right.
And if he got that first hit Bastion and Flying Saber wasn't faster on that blink, that source of income could have been the Venomancer. Bakemono has gone for a fairly greedy item build, but it's paying off because Leviathan just don't have the reliable lockdown they need. And if this anti-mage picks up something like a BKB for the next fight, it very well could turn around in favor of Boreal if he can get off that good mana void. And with the maxed out mana break, although we talked about it a little bit earlier, starting to get points in Spell Shield, now the anti-mage is able to very easily burn them down. And if he gets a mana void bomb on Queen of Pain, Witch Doctor, or Darkseer, the amount of damage in the fight is almost insurmountable if Leviathan are clumped up inside that engagement.
Alright, so at this point in time, Leviathan, you mentioned that they're not itemizing to take down the anti-mage, but the anti-mage is kind of preventing them from forcing objectives despite having the Aegis of the Immortal. How do they move on the map to actually get to the Radiant base with backdoor protection down? Do they have to squish the anti-mage again?
I think so, and I think that comes down to pickups on the Gyrocopter and the Queen of Pain. The Gyrocopter maybe not as a direct answer to the anti-mage, but they need this BKB on Chibi so they can push high ground once they get there, and they probably need a Scythe on this Queen of Pain in order to kill the anti-mage to get to the high ground. It's very risky right now, but they still have about 2 minutes left of this Age of the Immortal, and they could, in theory, do it if this anti-mage gets caught out and is a little too cocky, but AM has a full Abyssal Blade. If they aren't 100% prepared for the anti-mage while he's out pushing, he might just turn around and destroy you.
It's interesting that Bakemono is all pinging himself. Like, this is not a safe, exactly a safe area, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this quick thing. Like, essentially, you can see.
Maybe he wants Night Stalker to bait. Looks like they're going to drop PQ here and catch him out with the Abyssal Blade. Nah, he shows the creep way. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly the Daywalker's purpose at this part of the map right now, but no matter. He's doing great damage on Creep Wave. Gonna be eating a Sonic Wave from Francis, so that 40-second cooldown, but at least forcing that rotation. And this isn't like an Ember Spear lineup, like in BOT and Remnant back. It's straight up, you have to commit to a lane, and as a result, you're at least for 45 seconds stuck in that lane. We'll see Venomancer and Wyvern cross paths, not much to come of it, and honestly, compared to the first 10 minutes, the kill count really hasn't been that past 10.
No, it really hasn't. A big issue for Boreal right now is that their map vision has either been counted.
Tried to get it. The Poison Nova actually drops a lot of mana away from the Venomancer again. The hard disable is lacking. Anti-Mage looks to be going for one more blink away. The Vacuum not there to cancel it, and he will again take a lot. It might actually fall here. The Poison Nova and the Sonic Wave ticking down, TPing away. He will not die to the Poison Sting, and narrowly escapes with his life. I mean, that's like GG branch levels of HP surviving. That is so really close.
If Anti-Mage had a point in stats instead of an extra point in Spell Shield, I'm tempted to say he dies there. That is so very close, and thank Boreal's lucky stars that Anti-Mage doesn't die, even though... Oh no, he didn't have buyback, never mind. If he goes down there, that's high ground again. But they've been holding admirably against this first lane, and the status quo in this game, although it is very fragile, as we've just seen, maybe Bakemono dies the next time. Yeah. They're still holding in.
So, I can really understand the value of the Queen of Pain AC with the fact that they now have the Aghanim Scepter on the Witch Doctor, so they're putting out a lot of physical damage. The negative armor helps a ton, and also is one of the better items to synergize with Flat Cannon. We really need a Hex, and I feel like that's something that they just need to make top priority at this point in time.
Queen's doing it. She has a Void Stone. She's going to be getting to that Hex sooner rather than later, but they're not going to be able to use this Aegis to much effect. In fact, it's already expired on the Gyrocopter about 30 seconds or so ago, and now it's time to smoke, look for picks, and then set up for that next Roshan.
And it may just kind of scouting things out, making sure they didn't break smokes on any high ground position, and then immediately going for the wave in mid. No threat to him whatsoever. But we are going to see Queen of Pain leading the pack here, just looking for maybe a E.Wolves jump on anybody that kind of wanders into them. It's kind of hopeful, honestly. Thunder God's Wrath or Darkness could kind of ruin their day, or either reducing their vision so they can't engage in their smoke breaks, or just scouting the smoke in the first place. But neither one pops, and neither one seems needed, as they have a pretty good read on where Leviathan are moving.
The biggest thing for Leviathan is that they have those smokes to burn. They still have 2 in the stash, whereas on the flip side, Boreal only have 1 in the inventory of the Winter Wyvern and won't have it available for another 11.5 minutes. So even though that smoke is unsuccessful for Leviathan, it means a lot less for Leviathan that they waste the smoke, or not really waste the smoke, but the smoke is unfruitful, whereas if Boreal went for that move.
So the BKB is finished on the gyrocopter, 10 seconds. Obviously, there's a lot of magic damage flying about in general, but one thing that I think he's actually a bit worried about, oh, the Anti-Mage gets the hit, no BKB comes out, he's out of mana, and now out of life, Bakemono with the perfect Abyssal just insta-give with a little bit of help from
buyback on
Zeus.
Gyro. Boreal now have an opening where they can push and take objectives without the gyrocopter defending his high ground, although it probably is going to happen for Leviathan, is going to be a lot easier. But I guess the fact that Boreal don't know that Gyro doesn't have buyback is enough to force them out, and maybe they'll get a tier 2 tower out of it, but the bottom lane is pushing so heavily into the base that that is also a bit of a tall order.
Just getting to kind of stretch your arms and getting out of the base, and getting to take advantage of the map for 30 seconds is plenty of an advantage you can obtain here. Going for the tier 3 when you can expect like 80 Plague Wards to meet you there, it's just no thank you. There's a Wall of Replica, there's a Death Ward, there's Plague Wards, it's just not a fun place to be.
Absolutely not. And the most important part about this is not that Anti-Mage is getting space, because he's been making his own space throughout this entire game, but it's time where the Night Stalker, the Undying, the Zeus, everybody else can get their items up, and they crucially are going to get some really big pickups here. The Zeus Refresher Orb is going to be coming in shortly, and maybe even bigger. The Night Stalker Ags is only 500 gold or so away, but on the flip side of that coin, Queen of Pain has her Scythe. This is Leviathan's turn to make the move.
Yeah, if we're actually like looking at how the scales tilt, Anti-Mage on one side of the scales and his 4 teammates on the other, it's almost even. He's got like maybe 7k left to the combined team, but you finally get that Hex out. That is going to be the kill on the Anti-Mage. This time he does have that buyback with actually 1,000 gold surplus, so not even close to being at risk of not being able to buy back, but all the same, important that they finally have that Hex and already unveiling it with a kill.
Leviathan should know that Anti-Mage does have buyback here, but they need to force it out, so that next time they get a pick off, it means more.
Get E.Wolves on Undying. They will get follow-up kills off of this. Jeffins, for starters, gonna try to Glimmer Cape away and actually disjoint that Shadow Strike. Still gonna be pursuing. They get the vacuum back, and Jeffins is gonna be going down belatedly. Now it's actually gonna be Zeus's turn to rat it out. Kakoni jumps on the wave with the Blink Dagger and is arcing the hell out of these creeps. He'll take these ones down. Oh, doesn't finish the job, and he is gonna be heading back from there.
He still delays, and 1 arc lighting will be enough to mop up the rest of them, so that creep wave isn't going to be there for long, and now it's Leviathan to swim towards the top lane.
Wow.
Even though it's a...
That is like, yeah, now that I think about that, that is probably one of the rarest things you'll see. A Queen of Pain that doesn't have to recklessly die even once. Francis just really playing an impeccable game.
Yeah, absolutely. 10, 12, 0, and 7. Gets a Blink Hex inside the base on the PQ. Glimmer Cape is going to save his life, but maybe not Pizza Dad. He's inside the call down. The Rock Rush, the Sonic Wave. Cold Embracer not going to save your life there. 7 seconds. Anti-Mage will be back up and running, and Boreal buyback on the Wyvern. Leviathan needs to get out. Can they get out cleanly? It looks like the answer is yes.
Yep, seems to be the case, but yeah, they really wish that they could have ended this game a lot sooner. They didn't want to be in this dicey situation where there's just so much up in the air. I still think that they're obviously at an advantage. I mean, the net worth and XctN will tell you that much, but control is gonna start to be a problem for them. The fact that the Night Stalker now has the Aghanim Scepter, and they actually smoke on both sides. So PQ gonna run right into them, and he's not gonna see it in time. He's gonna get stunned. Again, the Gale misses, but it doesn't matter. PQ will fall, and without him, feeling much better about that high ground, with the Wyvern pick being the crucial thing.
Not even because of Night Stalker's spells, but just having that massive vision. But it's daytime anyway, so even if they don't kill the Night Stalker there, his impact in these next fights is almost moot. In a situation there, Night Stalker's feeling great about himself. He has this Aghanim's vision. He sees everything, or at least he thinks he does. He didn't expect that smoke, so Leviathan now can transition to the Roche Pit. And this should be the objective as they get off the back of that pickoff. Boreal, in theory, could make a pretty good fight inside the Roshan Pit, but it relies too much on them being in position, and also Leviathan being asleep at the wheel. Roshan's going to follow this as Aegis and Cheese for them.
So we're going to be seeing them pick those up, and I feel like they actually have some... I don't know, I don't want to count Leviathan out at any point, but I feel like some of their advantage is going to be lacking 10 from now. So I feel like this Aegis and Cheese should be used to another lane. If they can take a second lane of Rax, they're going to feel great about this game. If they fail to do so, then I feel like Boreal are getting themselves closer and closer to even footing.
Now you have a Hex on the Darks here too. The double Blink Hex initiation coming up from Leviathan. It's absolutely insane for this high ground push. So I think Leviathan, all of the timings are there, everything's falling in line, and this very well could be the end of the game if Boreal can't hold. Now we look at the buyback situation for both of the sides. Radiant team only have buyback on the Anti-Mage and the Undying, and I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to have to use the Anti-Mage buyback, even though they really, really don't want to.
Still, Zeus just picked up a refresher. We've got Veil and double Thunder God's Wrath coming out, and they just go right in. They see the opportunity, pop the BKB, killing off the Queen of Pain. No, she blinks out! She will not be killed off, she will survive, and she will be able to put out the Sonic Wave onto PQ and hex him up to bring him down. What a narrow escape from Francis, and in the meantime there were a lot of spells thrown on the Gyrocopter, but none even forcing the Aegis. Now they're going to heal up with that Voodoo Restoration, swapping the Cheese over to whoever it may be needed. Looks like Queen of Pain 8 deaths, I believe, yeah, it's gone. So now they're going to be going in, it's going to be the Anti-Mage again, but this time they're eating a lot of Poison Nova on 3 different heroes, a wall and a vacuum, and that will kill off the Edge one, crying back instantly, but they're still fighting in the wall. Jeffins will go down, and now Anti-Mage has 0 support. The Gyrocopter looks to lose his Aegis, but no, the Guardian Greaves bring him back up just narrowly. So they're going to look to force these racks, and they have the time to do so with 16 seconds on the next respawn.
Imagine this game if Queen of Pain didn't use her wand, or if her treads were on it when she gets jumped there. That was so very close. Maybe the treads would have made a difference, but the wand definitely saving her bacon. And right now, Kikoni's bacon might have been fried. He's going to be hexed up. We'll be backing, but they won't follow up. They want to get these structures. They want to secure this victory. It means so much in this qualifier stage. You get a 2-0. They'll get 3 points towards their continuation of this tournament. Should he gets jumped, he still has the Aegis, mind you. And BKB is popped by Bakemono. If they can kite out this Anti-Mage, maybe they can kill him off with a Blink Hex after the fact. This is very delicate. The Anti-Mage's BKB is going to expire, but he'll be safe back in his base. But Melee Barrett's not so lucky. We're looking at a Mega Creep situation. Blink in, a Visible Blade, but he's hexed up. Bakemono can't contain the Sonic Wave. The Witch Doctor's death. We're going to town. Anti-Mage is down, and down for good. No buyback available, and the only hero that stands for Boreal is the Winter Wyvern, who just respawned. Leviathan now looks like they're going to take a 2-0 sweep.
And this is heart-crushing for Boreal. They are now 0-4 in the Frankfurt Major regional qualifiers. This is nearly mathematically eliminating them from the potential to take any top position in the group. It's very difficult, but at the same time, it's Leviathan that earned an amazing 2-0 victory here. One that was drawn out by their own terms, this one drawn out by Bakemono, but still an incredible series to behold. Leviathan showing some real strength, some real strides, some great strats, and here it is, 2-0 at 45 minutes, 32-11. That is gonna be putting them in a great position in this group. Just really, I mean, we saw so it's hard to really give an MVP to this match. If we had to give it to this game, I definitely